So just 3 days before the deadline, the federal government files a sealed response to the Supreme Court over a case that may be linked to special counsel Robert Mueller. This all comes after the nation's highest court placed a temporary hold on a contempt citation, and that was against an unnamed foreign company for refusing to comply with a mysterious grand jury subpoena. So we should note that details of this filing, they're hidden from the public, and it doesn't mention Mueller's office, but see, the timing and the secrecy of this case is what's raising speculations of the special counsel's involvement. So with me now to discuss this is Joyce Vance, former U.S. attorney and MSNBC contributor, Ned Price, former National Security Council spokesman for President Obama, and Kevin Cirilli, chief Washington correspondent for Bloomberg News. So Kevin, let's jump right in. Are we any closer to finding out the details of this mystery case? And if so, why is it so important?
Well, first and foremost, it's so important because until we get the conclusions of Bob Mueller's investigation, these types of stories are going to continue. And at the end of the day, whether we're talking about potential impeachment proceedings or censure proceedings and the new forecast with the new Congress set to take over on January 3rd with Democrats in control, all of that becomes premature until we have the results of Bob Mueller's investigation.
So I want to switch gears to just a minute. I mean, Joyce, let's go to this Time magazine exclusive report. It further links Trump's former campaign manager, Paul Manafort, to Russia. And a Russian oligarch actually told the magazine he was not only approached by Mueller's team, but that he also pressured Manafort to pay back his multi-million-dollar debt to him. So we should know, of course, this report has not yet been independently verified by NBC. But if it's true, how big is this revelation?
You know, there's a lot of information in circulation, Morgan, that talks about Paul Manafort's indebtedness to Russian oligarchs and his effort to pay them back, perhaps through briefings that he offered to give during the campaign, although at least Oleg Deripaska, one of those oligarchs, has denied he ever received those briefings or even Manafort's message. But the box that Manafort's going to find himself in is this. At some point, President Trump will be faced with the fact that there's just too much evidence that Manafort was a creature of the Russians in many ways. And so Trump will have to distance himself from Manafort. That means if what Manafort is hoping for down the road is a pardon, those chances look increasingly dim. It's tough for a president to pardon someone who was in bed with one of our national enemies.
So, of course, you all know that I have to ask about this nude selfie. Ned, on Thursday, Concord Management, which is one of those indicted Russian companies, referred to an unknown nude selfie obtained by Mueller. But see, the attorneys asked, could the manner in which Mueller collected a nude selfie really threaten the national security of the United States? So what, if anything, Ned, can we learn from that filing?
Well, this appears to be nothing more than a fishing expedition, Morgan, on the part of Concord Management, the litigant in this case. They are most likely correct that the selfie in this case is probably not sensitive. It probably doesn't pertain to our national security. The exposure of it may not affect our national security. But what they are trying to get at here, what Concord Management is both trying to obtain for itself and for its owners, including a high-ranking Russian official, allegedly responsible for the effort to attack our election in 2016, is the manner of collection. And obviously, that can be sensitive. Sources and methods are among the most closely guarded secrets in our government. The fruits of those sources and methods are not always classified, but those sources and methods themselves often are. They can be highly sophisticated. Bob Mueller and his team were able to and have been able to leverage the full set of tools of our intelligence and law enforcement agencies, and it seems to be that this Russian company is trying to get a more granular picture of what those capabilities and techniques are, which, of course, would have quite dire implications for our security.
And it's interesting, Ned, because you mentioned the manner of collection, but beyond just the selfies, there were also these text messages. So, Joyce, President Trump tweeted today about the text messages between former FBI officials Lisa Page and Peter Strzok, and this comes just days after Rudy Giuliani accused Mueller of destroying FBI evidence by allowing those text messages to be erased. But see, then he called for Mueller to be investigated. So what exactly is he doing here, Joyce? What's the end game when it comes to the president's legal strategy now?
You know, this is less legal strategy and much more PR strategy. It's part of Giuliani and Trump's ongoing effort to convince the public that Mueller can't be trusted. But unfortunately for them, the facts here weigh in Mueller's favor. There were some text messages that were lost when there was a routine wipe of the phones after these two agents left the FBI, or I should say after the agent and the lawyer left the FBI. Most, if not all of them, have been recovered. There's nothing intentional here, nothing that indicates that Mueller had anything to hide. Yet again, this is nothing other than the President of the United States doing a disservice to the public by putting out facts that he knows aren't true.
Kevin, is this a disservice to the public? Are we expecting any new developments in the Russia investigation between now and, say, January, when the Democrats take control of the House?
Well, look, I think Ned makes a great point, which is that Bob Mueller and his investigation team have really made sure to really stick to the facts here and to continue onward with this investigation without any outside distractions. Now, that said, the president clearly also, with Rudy Giuliani, making a political calculation that has still resonated not just with the base of the Republican Party, but also with Republicans as a whole. As of now, if you carefully watch his support in the House of Representatives amongst Republicans, as well as Republicans in the Senate, we have not seen any Republicans desert him in large numbers. That matters for when Mueller does wrap his investigation, and folks then are going to have to, in the halls of Congress, make decisions.
And just closing thought when it comes to these investigations, Ned, if you were there working with Democrats in Congress, what are some of the areas you would most want to see investigated?
Well, what we haven't quite seen, at least what the public hasn't quite seen yet, is what sources of financial leverage, not only the Russians, but also other foreign governments and foreign entities may have over President Trump, over the Trump organization, and over President Trump's family members, including his son-in-law, Jared Kushner. I think what we will see at the end of the day is that this was a multi-pronged influence operation that leveraged different forms of financial pressure that derive from Trump's business interests and those of his corporation and those of his family in ways that we don't yet know, given the opacity and the manner in which President Trump has shielded his own personal finances. The Democrats in early January will be in a position for the first time during this presidency to actually demand some of that information and to possibly get answers to see what's at the bottom of all of this.
Answers we hope we get at the beginning of January. Ed and Kevin, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.